Hello and welcome to Scandinavian folk tales, sagas, and fairy tales. Today I'm going to read you the story of a family who cannot afford the Midsummer celebration. In a small ramshackle house tucked away in a forgotten corner of the village, a poor family huddled together around a dying fire. The wind howled and moaned outside, battering the rickety walls and rattling the few meager belongings they owned. It was the night before the Midsummer's feast, and as always, they had nothing to celebrate with. The children, wide-eyed with anticipation, whispered to each other about the stories they heard about a great feast, about the food, the music. Their parents, unable to afford such luxuries, tried to console them with hugs and half-hearted promises of a better tomorrow. As the night deepened, the wind seemed to die down, and a strange stillness settled over the village. It was then, amidst the silence, that a knock was heard on their door. The family looked at each other, uncertain, before the father slowly rose his feet and opened it. Standing before them was a tall, thin man with a long white beard. His eyes twinkled like stars, and he was dressed in clothes that seemed to shift and flow with the breeze, as if they were part of him. He introduced himself as a wandering storyteller and explained that he had become lost in the woods and sought shelter for the night. In exchange for a warm bed and a meal, he offered to tell them a story. The father, touched by the old man's situation and desperate to cheer up his children, invited him in. As they all gathered around the fire, the storyteller began to weave a tale of epic proportion, a tale of gods and giants, and battles won and lost, of love and betrayal, and of the endless struggle between good and evil. The children hung on his every word, their eyes shining with wonder and awe. The storyteller spoke of how Odin, the All-Father, had led the Aesir to war against the frost giants, who had grown too powerful and threatened to destroy the world. He described the great battle that raged across the icy plains, the clash of weapons, and the roar of the crowd. He spoke of the heroic deeds of Odin and his warriors, and of the great sacrifices they made to save Midgard from the giants' wrath. As the old man's voice grew hoarse from telling the tale, the fire crackled and popped, casting dancing shadows across the walls in the humble home. The children, their eyes shining with wonder and admiration, clung to every word, unable to tear their cases away from the storyteller. Even the parents, who have heard the story countless times before, found themselves entranced by the storyteller's skill and charisma. The night wore on, and the storyteller reached the climax of the tale, the moment when Odin, wounded and near death, sacrificed himself to the great tree Yggdrasil, binding the powers of the Norns and sealing the fate of the world. The children gasped in unison as the old man described the scene, their hearts racing with anticipation as they waited to see if Odin would survive his ordeal. The father, who had listened to the story countless times before, felt a lump in his throat as the storyteller brought the tale to life in a way he had never heard before. He looked around their humble home, filled with newfound appreciation for the love and support of his family, and the hope that perhaps, just maybe, things would get better tomorrow. The children too were enthralled by the story, their young minds filled with images of heroes and gods and the great battles they fought. They couldn't help but feel a renewed sense of purpose and strength, as if the struggles they faced in their own lives were but small compared to those of the great heroes of the tale. The father, watching his children's faces light up with wonder and excitement, felt a surge of pride and hope within him. He had always wanted to give them a better life, to shield them from the harsh realities of the world, but he knew that sometimes stories was the only way to do that. They could teach valuable lessons and instill in children a sense of right and wrong, of courage and determination that would stay with them throughout their lives. As the storyteller drew the tale to a close, he left the family with a powerful message that even in the darkest of times, there was always hope, and that heroes and heroines could be found in the most unlikely of places. The children nodded in agreement, their eyes shining with newfound understanding and renewed sense of purpose. The father felt a wave of emotion wash over him. He knew that he could never fully shield his children from this. Then they tucked in for the night. And when they woke up the next morning, the storyteller was gone. And on the chair where he sat the night before was a small pile of gold coins. On it, it said, Njordr. The father picked up one of the gold coins, turning it over in his hands. He smiled, recognizing the name as the Vanir god of wealth, and he felt a warmth spread through him. As he placed the coins on the dresser, he glanced at his sleeping children, their chest rising and falling gently with each breath. He knew that this story, like the storyteller's gift, would stay with them for a long time. It would shape the way they saw the world and inspire them to be the heroes and heroines of their own lives. The father stepped out into the morning light. He couldn't help but wonder who the storyteller was and why he had left such a generous gift. Was it a blessing from a god, or merely the kindness of a stranger? Either way, it was a reminder that there were good people in the world, and that hope could be found even in the darkest of times. Thank you for listening to this Midsummer tale from the deepest part of Scandinavian woods and fields. Until next time, I'm the elder man. I tell stories. Bye bye.